Right, this video is about the launch angle and the spin axis. This is understand data a little better. This is a series where we are going through different data points to help you during your practice if you're using a launch monitor of some description to give you some advice to help you going forward. So launch angle and spin axis. I really like focusing on spin axis for the curve of the golf ball, and that's going to refer to the club face. And the launch angle is obviously the delivery of the club. So, if you are struggling to maybe get the penetrating flight that you're after when it comes to your shots, maybe you're sort of hitting it too high and losing distance, you want to focus on the launch angle to try to get the launch angle, probably no doubt, a little bit lower. The best way that I can describe a launch angle, if I had a water hose in front of me and I had to spray you with water, there is obviously a point that I find the peak to then, or the optimal launch angle to hit you with water. If I had a launch angle that was too high, the water is going to spray up and it's going to land in front of you. If the launch angle was too low, it's just going to splash straight in front of you again. But if I can find the right sort of launch angle, then I can get the right flight of the water to then spray you with water. Again, with a golf ball, it's exactly the same. I try and keep it, again, really simple. Every club, every iron has a slightly different sort of launch angle. But as a general rule, to keep it really simple, if I was hitting an iron, a mid-iron, wedges are probably a little bit different. But if I was hitting an iron, a 9-iron to a 4-iron, if my launch angle can be under 20 degrees, that for me is going to give me a nice penetrating flight. If I start seeing, and I'm teaching someone that's getting sort of higher than 20, 25, whatever it may be, then we sort of maybe know that their delivery, they're definitely adding loft. So we want to feel that we are trying to get a little bit more compression on the golf ball, maybe feel that their trail wrist extension is a little bit more, maybe they're scooping it. There could be other reasons behind it. But what I'm saying for your own game, if you are practicing and you're seeing your launch angle being higher than 20 when you're hitting an iron, I would probably look at techniques to try to bring that down. He says that I'm going to now try and do one because driver is a little bit of a different scenario. So I'm going to try and hit a shot worrying purely about launch angle, and I'm going to try and get it to be into the sort of teen bracket. And I don't even know if I've achieved it. Oh, yes. Did I? There we go. Perfect. So from a launch angle perspective, ignore that the ball curved over to the left. From a launch angle perspective, I clearly got into the golf ball where I'd shifted enough, had enough wrist angles, had some compression, and therefore would have got sort of the optimal distance out of the club that I was using. So when you're using an iron from launch angle perspective, somewhere in the teens is going to be ideal. Now, driver is a little bit different. Because obviously we're coming into driver at a different angle of attack. Another video in the series that I will explain a little bit more. But you want a low launch. Because I'm trying to get the launch lower to get the most amount of distance. Again, that whole idea of the spraying the water hose, you want to feel that there is that optimal. Now, I do, and I will be honest with you, just to cover my back, I probably launch it a little bit too high. So my launch angle might not be as low as I would like. With driver, I would say as close to 10 is ideal. Most people are going to be in the sort of the low range of the teens. If you see that your launch is 16, 17, 18, again, getting close to 20, then you are doing one of two things. Maybe you are leaning back excessively, or probably more realistically, your club face has got too much loft. So you are doing something during your swing to open that face, to add loft, which is why you're then not going to get the most amount of distance out of the shot because you are launching the ball too high. So he says, with great confidence, we're going to try and launch this I would say my normal launch is probably about 12 to 13, he says. Oh, at least that was a better drive than the last video that I've just filmed for this series. So launch was 15, which I get. I do launch it probably a little bit too high, but that's fine. So that's really the way that I would look at launch. Now, if I'm looking at spin access, and I might as well leave it there because that was a beautiful. Spin access is the spin that you are putting on the golf ball because of the club face angular impact. So when it's obviously 0.6, this doesn't really have much side spin. The easiest way that you can describe sort of the spin axis, if I was a plane and I tilt my spin axis to the right, then obviously my ball is going to curve over to the right-hand side. And if I tilt my spin axis to the left, then obviously the ball will curve over to the left-hand side. As simple as we can. For me, from a coaching perspective, and when I'm practicing and playing, I'm looking for that to be as small as possible. I'm happy if the spin axis is sort of 4 degrees or less. I know from my own personal game that when I hit an iron, and I'll hit an iron for you just to give you that clarity, that I get a little bit too much spin. I know I close the face a little bit too much. And again, if you are a drawer, hooker of the golf ball, then obviously you might see a spin axis which has too much left. And if you're a slicer of the golf ball, then if you're a right-handed golfer, that is, then you're going to see too much spin over to the right-hand side. So I'm not even going to hit another driver shot because I'm not going to improve that. So what's the point? I'm only going to set myself up to failure. But I do feel, because of ball position and my delivery and my club path, which again later in the series I will explain what I'm looking for, I probably hit driver straighter than any other club in my bag. Apart from the first video, if you've watched the club and ball speed. But if I get less than 4, I'm pretty happy. So we're going to use the same ideas to see if I can get less than 4. And all that is referring to is the face angular impact, generally speaking. Yes, if you catch it out of the toe, if you catch it out of the heel, it can obviously put a little bit of spin on the golf ball. But to understand the data a little bit better, if I can get less than 4, I know this ball's not going to curve off the world. Da-da-da. So not bad. So I've seen it on the launch monitor already. 6. Now, it's obviously ended up on target because there are other factors that has helped me to keep that ball straight, being the club path. So from a launch perspective and a shot, I would take that all day of the week. That for me just means that the club face was probably a little bit more closed than I would like to see, but I got away with it. The launch was okay. So when you are practicing, if you are seeing numbers that you don't particularly like, whether it's too much, too little, then hopefully you can then try to adjust yourself going forward. If you're watching this on YouTube, appreciate it. Like and subscribe would be great. If you're watching this on Skillest, massively appreciate your support as ever. And come and follow me into the next video where we'll talk about, I actually have said it without realizing it, angle of attack. I'll see you there.